I think we're in that bull market. The market has quadrupled since the low of the last market, right? We've quadrupled off of 15,000. And so, where can we go from the low to the new high? Well, I'd say we could probably go 20x, Going up 20x from the low in this market is conceivable, right? It's probably a reasonable thing. And we're up already 4x. So let's just say 5x left to go in this phase. That might be more. There's no solid rule.
Fred Kreuger, well-known Bitcoin maximalist and former Wall Street professional, who also holds a PhD in maths from Stanford, believes Bitcoin will 20x from the cycle low of around $15,000. Kreuger is a champion of the Bitcoin power law, a mathematical model that tracks Bitcoin's historical price trends and highlights the relationship between time and price. For Kreuger, this is one of the most accurate models for analyzing Bitcoin's past performance, adoption, and for predicting future price movements. His outlook on Bitcoin is extremely bullish, with forecasts, using the power law, suggesting that Bitcoin could reach $250,000 to $350,000 this cycle, or even $1 million in a perfect bull case. All before the market ends in late 2025. Kreuger is so confident in Bitcoin's price trajectory that he even made a bet of $100,000 worth of Satoshis with anyone who will take it, that Bitcoin will pass $70,000 ahead of the US election this November. Make sure to watch to the rest of this video where Fred Kreuger discusses in more detail the Bitcoin power law and why it is so good for forecasting the Bitcoin market. Also, if you enjoy listening to crypto-related content or would like to know more about pricing models such as the power law and others, please show your support by liking and subscribing to this channel by following the link in my bio. And get access to my Crypto Education Center, free daily crypto updates and expert predictions direct to your inbox. Each newsletter contains market intelligence, on-chain data and latest updates from experts in the crypto space. All of this is available completely free of charge. Signing up only takes a moment and you can always change your mind later on. Now back over to Fred Kreuger.
I would start with this power law, okay, which is, the concept that everybody kind of got wrong, which is something that got popular in about 2019, 2020, which was the stock to flow model, right? Now, if you really look at the stock to flow model, and I could go on for a long time but it's basically incorrect, okay? And there's a lot of problems with the math and the stock to flow model. However, there is a model which is actually pretty much bulletproof, which is this power law model. And the power law model says very simply, let's plot the price of Bitcoin in log terms, okay? And let's look at it also relative to the time since the Genesis block in the log terms. It's important to have both of those axes be in log terms. Now, if you do that, you notice that it's more or less oscillating around a straight line. And if you do a regression to that straight line, you find that the fit is the R squared is 97%. Okay. So that's the first clue that, okay, this is something really amazing. Because if you get a 97% R squared, this is not a coincidence. Now, the amazing thing is this happens over a period from when Bitcoin was at 10 cents to when Bitcoin was at $73,000, right? So you have 6 orders of magnitude of growth, right? From 10 cents to $73,000, almost $100,000, right? And yet the logarithms follow this linear slope with 97% correlation. Okay. Now, if you told me that any relationship like that in finance has a 97% correlation over 6 orders of magnitude, I would say you found the holy grail, right? Yeah. The first reason why I have conviction is I believe in this power law. I do think that this is sort of statistically how Bitcoin price is evolving. And furthermore, we can even talk about why this is happening. And the why of this is that Bitcoin adoption is also growing like a power law, right? It's growing like a power law. And so the important thing about a power law is the is the power, right? So at what power is this growing? And roughly it's growing at t to the power 6. Okay. So as time goes by, it's not going at the square of time. It's not growing at the cube of time. It's growing to the 6th power of time, right? That's roughly how fast Bitcoin is going. So you have this crazy, almost exponential growth, right? Not quite exponential, but it's almost exponential. A good way to think of it right now is Bitcoin's growing at about 40% per year. That's sort of the trend line Bitcoin. Now, around this, there's tremendous volatility, right? And if you look at it in sort of normal space, it almost makes no sense. It's sort of like, okay, it went up a lot in 2017. It crashed. It went up a lot in 2020. It crashed. Okay. Now it's back. Okay. What do you make of this? It just seems like a complete, just, sort of random event, right? But if you look at it in log terms, you see, no, there's a very clear pattern, right? A very clear pattern. And furthermore, you can even estimate the volatility around this pattern, right? And so basically, the volatility is around 0.3 in logarithmic terms. What that means is that you can go up by 10 to the power of 0.3, which is a double, or you can go down by 10 to the power negative 0.3, which brings you down to about half. So I would sort of say right now we are at fair value of Bitcoin, roughly. And I would say, we have an even chance of going to say 125,000 Bitcoin in a year versus going back down to 30,000. Now that would be without the trend line growth. So the trend line growth puts you at around 100,000 by the end of this year. So I would say if I had to put a confidence interval, I would say 50,000 to 200,000, with 100,000 being the mean, kind of for the end of the year. Now, that's kind of that really should give you a lot of confidence that we're in a pretty good spot to invest in Bitcoin. But on top of that, we now have this ETF, right? And the ETF is probably a reason why we're going to exceed this on the upside. Right. So, we're in this ETF and we're in the 4th bull market of Bitcoin. The 4th bull market, I would say it's really driven by ETFs more than anything else. Right. And I think, the promise of the ETF started kicking in when we were at Bitcoin 25,000 almost, And so I think we're in that bull market. The market has quadrupled since the low of the last market, right? We've quadrupled off of 15,000. And so, where can we go from the low to the new high? Well, I'd say we could probably go 20x, that's normally where you go. Like if you go back from in the last bull market, right? We bottomed out at Bitcoin 3,500. Right. So we started 2019 at around 4,000. Okay. And we ended up at, 69,000. Right. So, from 3,000 to 69,000, let's just call it 20x. Right. So, it seems like a lot, but actually that's what we did. So, right. But really it started earlier. Right. So I think it really started more in like 2015 timeframe, right? So it was more like, if you remember, Bitcoin was around 500 then, right? So it really went from 500 to almost 20K, right? So let's just call it 30x. So I think a good way to think of these things, these bull markets, is historically they've lasted 3 or 4 years. Okay, the first one was, let's call it 3 years, from 2010 till end of 2013. Well, 4 years, really, almost, right? It was just an enormous bull market, right? It was the biggest of all. But I think, going up 20x from the low in this market is conceivable, right? it's probably a reasonable thing. And we're up already 4x. So let's just say 5x left to go in this phase. That might be more. There's no solid rules. But, I think that, for us to go 250, 300K in this kind of bull market is entirely possible. And it may be bigger, right? It may just continue all the way up to $1 million. Who knows, right? Mm-hmm. I do think we're in this bull market. The big picture is we're in a bull market, Mm-hmm. We're in a bull market. We have this catalyst, which is this ETF, which is so much bigger than the Ethereum catalyst of 2017, so much bigger than this DeFi catalyst of 2020.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe for news and expert predictions direct to your inbox.